right, you're welcome to the faculty. The faculty is a public affairs program on Delta Broadcasting Service Television every weekday from 12 to 1 p.m. Onto this faculty, it's going to be a very interesting one because we have two very important people with us in the studio. We're going to be looking at a topic that's very much important to Deltans. It is the second anniversary celebration of the 8th Assembly of the Delta State House of Assembly. It's been 1 week plus of razzmatazz, entertainment, visitations to orphanages, charity football match, Thanksgiving, and all that. And yesterday it ended with a grand reception at the legislative quarters. But of course, understanding the tenets of government, that governance is basically based on the three arms of government: the executive, the legislature, and the democracy. Delta State, I believe, has stood out in its responsibility and discharge of legislative duties in the last 16 years and counting. We've had a stable democratic dispensation and a good working relationship between the three arms of government. But for all this celebration to come up in this 8th Assembly, that means there's so much to celebrate. But that would be represented here on this platform by someone who has been there, who is having a third term at the House of Assembly, is the member of the House of Assembly, the head of the House of Assembly Committee on Information, a wonderful footballer, the representative of Anyocha North in the Delta State House of Assembly, is a role model to a lot of aspiring politicians in Delta State and beyond, calm, savvy, and full of confidence. Please, I will make welcome to the studio Honorable Engineer Emeka Nwobi. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon, viewers.
Yes, and of course, my friend, a regular face with us here, the public affairs analyst, Henry Nwanze. You're welcome to the program.
Thanks, Meshach, for having me.
Yes, Honorable, I have to start with you. Deltans have been wondering why this celebration. What is the evaluation of successes for this 8th Assembly that really brought so much attention to the celebration we are having, or rather that the legislative arm of government has had in the last 1 week that culminated yesterday to the Thanksgiving held at the church, Redeemed Christian Church? What is the reason for the celebration?
Thank you very much. First, I will say that for having life, it is important that we thank God and we celebrate. Not everyone who was alive in 2023 when the house was inaugurated is still alive today. But looking at the entire house and counting the members who are still complete, we haven't lost anyone. So that actually is the primary essence of the Thanksgiving that we had yesterday. So, and again, as a legislature, our primary assignment is to make laws, perform oversight functions, and representation. We also felt that we had done very, very well, considering this a tripod of our responsibilities. In terms of lawmaking, in just this second session, we enacted 16 quality laws, that will help the governance of Delta.
Can you give us a breakdown of some of these laws so that our listeners can have an idea?
Yes, I have a list of them. I can actually mention them to you.
Yes.
In the second session, we have Delta State Domestic Staff Service Provider Registration Bill 2024. We have Delta State Prevention and Prohibition of Destruction and Vandalism of Public Properties and Assets Bill. We have Delta State Recognition of Labor Rights of River Ethiope Bill 2024. We have Delta State Child Rights Amendment Bill 2024. We have 2023 Amendment Revised Appropriation Bill. We have Delta State College of Health Technology Obrode Bill. We have Southern Delta University Ozora Establishment Bill. We have Appropriation Bill 2025. We have Delta State Local Government Amendment Bill We have Supplementary Appropriation Bill 2024. We have Delta State Hospital Management Board Amendment Bill. We have Delta State Traditional Medicine Board Bill. We have Delta State Food Security Agency Bill. We have Delta State Waste Management Board Bill, Delta State Community Security Corps Agency Amendment Bill, and Delta State Colleges of Education Bill 2025. So that's 16 of them. So that tells you that in just 1 year, the House received 16 bills. So that tells you that in terms of lawmaking, we have done very, very well in the past 1 year. Putting the two sessions together, we have done about 34 bills, because in the first session, we did about 18 bills. Now, in this second session, we have done 16 bills. So you come to issue of representation, we have also done excellently well, relating with our people, taking feedbacks, and trying to help to influence the dividends of democracy down to the local level. So I would say that we have every reason to thank God, that for the past 2 years, we have actually given our people quality representation.
Yes, giving your people quality representation, that was quite a good one. I'll come back to you because there are people service questions that have actually asked me to throw at you, but I'm going to come back. Wanzi, you're looking at it, the House of Assembly celebration. What has been the relationship from your perspective, the relationship between the legislature and the executive in the last 2 years?
Well, rightly put, Section 4, subsection 7 of the 1999 Constitution as altered clearly stipulates the powers of the legislature, especially as it relates to the House of Assembly. If you go down to paragraph A, B, and C, states all the functions, of which it clearly stated based on the tripod of law, making of laws, oversight functions, and representation. And so far so good. In the 8th Assembly, it has been a robust working relationship. And it's no news that the relationship between the legislature and the executive arm of government has been symbiotic. And it's no news, and it's not something strange, because the governor of the state who has been tutored many times to be the 30th member of the House, was one time presiding officer of the House. So that synergy, that relationship has already been established. And that being said, and I think it's good for democracy. Oftentimes we tend to mistake the separation of powers between the three arms of government, the legislature, the executive, judiciary, to be at such, all for all intent and purposes, to be at antagonistic ways. But that is not the situation, because they are meant to complement each other to ensure that the business of governance gets to the people, and that is what we've seen so far. Like I said, Section 4.7 talks about the fact that the House of Assembly of the state has powers to make laws for the peace, order, and good government of a state or any part thereof. So the role of the legislature is pivotal, because even in a democracy, without the legislature, you don't have a democracy. You see that when you have a military government, the legislature is the first arm to suffer, any casualty. So the legislature is very important. So about the relationship, it is robust, and I think it's healthy, because it has helped in a long way in ensuring that the people feel the impact of democracy, democratic, as we call it, democratic dividends are being, the people get to feel the impact. Because if there was a foster relationship between the legislature and the executive, like we've seen in most cases, I don't need to start mentioning names, I've seen in many examples where the executive governor is on one side and the legislature is on another side. They are at par, or rather they are at antagonistic at loggerheads with each other. It tends to bring problem to the state. Right. So I say it's a good one. For the past 2 years of this administration has been like that, and not just this 2 years. It has always been like that in the state. We've not had it like this, but for the past 2 years, we never had it so good, because of the working relationship between the governor of the state, and the State House of Assembly.
Great one. I'm coming back to you, Honorable. Interestingly, I want to have a chronology of questions I want to ask. First and foremost, are we looking at a legislature that is working, in the sense that because the executive, His Excellency, the Executive Governor of Delta State, was part of that legislature for 8 years, and not for once was there any friction with the then executive government? There was a symbiotic relationship. And the quality of leadership and the quality of representation in the Legislative Assembly has been impulsive, has been impressive, and has been impacted, so said some sectors. But now, there are salient issues. The issue of what is the legislature doing about the issue that is being raised in some areas, the issue of insecurity. And because from the bills, I think from the bills you read out, I think it was only community security or something, I think I heard about it, the area of insecurity, because of kidnappings and all that. The people, your electorate, they feel that the legislature and the executive in government in question have not done enough for Deltans on the area of insecurity and, of course, poverty alleviation. People really want to hear from you. They were excited that you're coming, and they really want to hear your perspective as the majority leader.
Thank you very much. First, let me say that the issue of security is a constitutional matter, because the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, as altered, Section 14(2)(b, provides that the primary essence of government is welfare and security of the people. And I can tell you categorically that the governor, as a legislator, because once a legislator, always a legislator, the governor understands these things very, very clearly. And he is doing quite a lot to combat crime in Delta State. Let me say this. You know, security is not something you come out publicly to discuss. You see certain things flying on social media. That is because the government of Delta State is not showcasing the results achieved in terms of security. But I can tell you that quite a lot has been done, and governor is still determined to do more. Just about 2 weeks ago, he took a bold step of expanding the security meeting by inviting all the traditional rulers in Delta State, inviting the house members, council chairmen, commissioners, who are out there, to discuss the security of Delta State. If it was possible for him to showcase the achievements recorded so far, juxtaposing it with what the people are seeing and thinking that nothing is happening, I'm sure people will go on the streets to clap for him. So he has done quite a lot, and he is still determined to do a lot more to ensure that Delta State is very peaceful.
That's a good one. But now let's look, I want to ask you a very important question again. Let's look at entrepreneurship for our people, the electorate. It's assumed that you were voted there as representatives of the people.
Yeah.
And when you look at our state presently, there's really a cry for help in terms of industrialization and, of course, job creation and all that. I want to reference it to the leather factory in your constituency, Seluku. That leather factory has been there for over 10 years, and I believe that it could give employment to like 5,000 people. And so many other government, Songhai Delta, so many other government projects that have been widely used. The electorate, we don't need to wait for governance in Delta State has been excellent, but employment, not just government employment, but creation of jobs like this will be very encouraging to the people. How can your assembly, this 8th assembly, how do you think you have done so well so far, and how do you intend to improve on that to bring the confidence of Deltans back to?
Yeah, let me just quickly say this, that remember that the MORE agenda promises to do quite a lot for Deltans. And in terms of the leather factory in Seluku, I will also tell you that the government of Delta State has just concluded arrangements to concession the leather factory. So I am very hopeful that in no distant time, the there will be life, put into that place. That place will be fully activated, and it will come alive and possibly engage as many hands as it can accommodate, in terms of job creation. So Delta State government, governor came in from day one and promised Delta that he was going to do more. Yeah. And you will agree with me that step by step, he has done quite a lot, and he is still doing more. A lot of youths in this state have been empowered, to start up small-scale businesses. More, as an acronym, means meaningful development. You will agree with me that development is, all over the state, everybody is feeling it. Opportunities for all, he's creating opportunities for everybody. Youths in Delta State know that governor provides opportunities to give them empowerment to start up small-scale businesses. I am sure you're following the trend. You would have seen some of those things. Realistic reforms. Of course, I've just spoken about something like this leather factory. A lot of other reforms are coming up, to improve the situation in Delta State. Then enhanced peace and security. He's, like I said earlier, he's doing quite a lot to combat crime in Delta State. A lot of plans are in place again to do so many things to check the insecurity in Delta State. So I can safely say that much as we still have some challenges, but I can say that Delta State is one of the most peaceful states I know in Nigeria. And that is because governor is very serious with issues of security. He's taking it very seriously. Unfortunately, it's not something we can showcase in the public, but I can tell you that he's done quite a lot and is very determined to do a lot more.
A lot more. I'm going to come back to you. Let me go to Wednesday. Wednesday, let's look at the electorate responsibility to government and governance. How can you relate that to, we're celebrating the legislation and everybody is giving them applause. And of course, do you think the legislation have been able to meet up the expectations of the electorate vis-a-vis with the reality of economic reality and the reality of government and governance on ground at all levels?
Yeah, I would answer you in two ways, yes and no. Yes, because they have done a lot in terms of passage of bills that have been assented to by the governor to be laws, motions that has really touched on the fabrics of our everyday society, and the way we do things. They've really done a lot in that aspect. I would say no because one thing is to make laws. Another thing is a follow-up on those laws to ensure that those laws see the light of the day. I'll give you an instance. The case of the Delta State House of Assembly, it is to their credit that the Delta State House of Assembly had passed a bill against the issue of development levies, aka DEVE and all that. But you and I agree that it still exists. And people who build houses will tell you what they go through, in everyday, in reality. These bills or whatever, these levies are still in place. Then we'll talk about the open grazing bill.
Yes.
To address certain things that we already know, and you could still see it. The other person was telling me the other day about if you come around is it 4 a.m. or 12 a.m. or so or thereabout, you see these people with their cattle parading the streets of Asaba and all that. They are still there. So one thing is to enact these laws. Another thing is a follow-up on the laws. That is why I could say, yes, the assembly is a listening assembly. Why I say so? Because the next legislative calendar, we have been told that they are going to pass a bill for, a law to reduce or rather control the issue of rent, which is very good. It shows that the legislature in Delta State is listening.
Sorry, Henry, let me just cut in at this juncture. You just spoke about the anti-open grazing. Yes, it's important that I let the public know about it. If you say we have passed the law and we're not following up, you are completely wrong. Let me tell you that just recently, we have in the House a committee called Compliance Committee. chaired by the Deputy Speaker, and I am the Deputy Chairman of that committee. We have done quite a lot. We have in the past 8-9 months, we have had meetings with the council chairman. We summoned all the council chairmen. Have meetings with them about 3 times or so concerning this anti-open grazing law for implementation. And there's no dissenting voice. All of them are ready to do it. These things take gradual process. They are not automatic. There are 1 or 2 things we need to amend in the law to facilitate the process of implementation. However, we have asked that they should implement it. And they've gone back home to work out modalities on how to implement them. One of the modalities is to set up a committee, the committee that will drive the process. And the last time I checked, almost all the councils have set up the committee. So I can tell you, from my vantage position, that the House is working assiduously in ensuring that.
I was going to say, well, he has addressed
this. The issue you meant. There were 2 references.
No, I'm not even done. I'm not landed. Yes.
Don't, so that for time, want of forgetting it.
Yeah.
We talked about, there were 2 things you said have not been implemented.
Development levies.
I don't know what the House has done about it.
If our responsibility is to enact laws,
not to implement.
Yes. No, if the House is not aware that these levies are still being collected, there's no way we can intervene.
All right.
So the question I will ask Harry, is, has there been a situation where someone reported to the House that these levies are still being collected and the House kept a blind eye?
All right, now I was going to
So we are not still saying no. If not that you said it now, I didn't know that such levies are still being collected.
Okay,
that's true.
All right. Now, while I agree with what the legislator has said, the majority that said, with due respect, the thing is, yes, they are not magicians. Their business is to make the laws. The executive formulate.
Not only to make the laws.
Yes, and they'll make the laws, enact the laws. My concern is about the oversight.
That's why I said not only to make the laws, to follow up on the implementation.
That is what exactly what we say now. Now, from your vantage position, you've been able to tell us that they set up committees and all that.
Yes, in terms of, let me explain. Side function as it concerns the it's not something we'll just be walking around the street looking for sites where they're working to confirm whether there is anybody disturbing you.
Definitely, that's not the idea.
The House also has a committee called House Committee on Petitions. The House has never received public petition. The House has never received any petition concerning anybody collecting the rent. If there was any such petition, I can assure you would have dealt with it squarely.
Of course.
That gives us the opportunity to deal with such a situation and come up with a resolution that this particular issue should be seriously dealt with.
All right.
So we haven't had any such complaints.
All right. But let me just round up what I was saying. The point is, like I said, the legislature has done very well. The House of Assembly dealt with it. The point is, my concern is seeing these laws through, because it's like giving birth to a child and you send the child to school. You need to also follow up ensuring that the child becomes, all the monies you spent on the child does not go to waste. And I agree and I accept the fact that, yes, the House is doing something. What we are saying, the electorate are saying, is that more has to be done in terms of being expeditious in ensuring that these laws are actually implemented. Like you have compliance committee, good. It has never happened before that we have a committee like compliance among
it has always been there.
Maybe compliance committee
from point of information.
Maybe compliance committee.
Delta State House of Assembly, that committee has always been there.
Okay, the compliance committee, if it has been there, we don't know about it. The truth of the matter is ensuring that these laws are implemented as it should be, as the laws are passed. That being said, I was even talking about the issue of the rent control bill that we're talking about.
Yes, that was what I was going to.
Yeah.
Honorable, please. I mean, a very important question that Deltans want this Honorable House, this Honorable Assembly, to help mitigate on is the issue of arbitrary high cost of rentage in Asaba. And in fact, the entire state, that is the room and parlor self-contained will be going for as much as 1 million, 2 bedrooms as much as 1 million, 1.2, 1.5. And 3 million beyond and all that. And then so people are concerned. There are 2 questions here.
Okay.
What is the government going to do about it? And besides that, what is the government, your assembly, because people see the government more about the legislature and the executive, and they believe so much in the youthfulness, content, capacity, and of course the fidelity of this 8th assembly, the composition of this assembly. They will know you are people friendly, but they are crying for help, a housing problem. The public servants have been craving, for example, 2,000 to 5,000 units of small or low income or medium income housing estate for civil servants to reduce the cost of housing and create a competition amongst the, I call them entrepreneurs, trying from along across the Niger that have come to Asaba to invest in real estate. And I must let us know, sir, with due respect, that Delta State is the fastest growing and emerging state capital in Nigeria. And that situation, it attracts a lot of influx of people into the city. And of course, you know everything that goes with a new city that is peaceful, that is calm, that have a good road network, that have 24 hours security guard. There's no fear of anything. Different shades of people are going to come.
Okay, let me clearly say this, that we understand very clearly the pains of the people in terms of this landlord-tenant issue.
Yeah.
And I want to assure you that at the beginning of this third session, there is already a bill. It's my bill. I'm the one sponsoring that bill. You know, landlord-tenant bill. It's already under. They're processing it. It will come up for first reading as soon as possible at the beginning of this third session. That bill seeks to cure all these issues concerning landlord and tenants. Okay. Once that bill is passed and assented to, I can assure you that the issue of tenants and landlords in Delta State, particularly in Asaba, will become a thing of the past. So be rest assured that we have it already in place. The bill is already completely done. I have already sent in the bill. So the bill is undergoing the normal processes before it comes in for the first reading, which I believe is going to happen anytime soon. So as soon as that bill is passed and assented to, I'm sure Deltans will be happy for it, because it seeks to regulate the issue of rent. In fact, clause 19 of that bill, what it seeks to do is that no landlord can increase rent by more than 50%. It can be 10, it can be 20, it can be, but not more than 50%. And it also, the same clause also says that if you do any increment this year, you cannot increase that same what is it called? That same rent. You cannot increase it again until after 3 years. You know, because what happens in Delta State, from what people have come to tell me, which actually motivated me to come up with that bill, I learned that some people, agents who call themselves agents,
our biggest problem.
Yes, in fact, I just began to hear that language, total package. I just I never knew what it meant.
This year.
So I now asked, what is the meaning of total package? So total package, the agent puts his own money, you put landlord's own, you put agreement, you put caution, you put this legal fee, blah blah, everything. You know, in some cases, like I heard, some agents even go ahead to pay off the landlord, and then they will not fix their own rates. Yeah. So you see that by the time somebody is looking for a house to rent, the initial payment is crazy.
Yeah, very crazy.
An apartment of maybe 500,000, you could be paying up to 1.5 or 2 million as a total package, and then be paying for subsequent. During renewal to now come back to the normal rate, which is not right. So this bill seeks to cure that mischief, and I can assure you that it will be given accelerated passage, because all the members of the House, everybody is interested in the bill.
Yes,
everybody feels the impulse. Everybody feels the pains of the masses. So be rest assured that with that bill, we're going to cure that mischief.
You want to ask him? You want to?
Yes, that I brought up the issue. Now the thing is, like I said, it shows the House of Assembly is a listening assembly. I said that initially, for them to have brought up that bill, because this has been what has been plaguing me. I'll give you an example. Just last week, where I stay in a 3-bedroom flat, I was given a letter by my landlord, a rent of about 600,000 that I pay now, to 950,000. And I wonder myself, with my salary that I'm receiving annually, if I'm able to sustain that with my kids who go to school that I have to still train and pay their school fees. So it's arbitrary. Yeah. So we've been talking about it. This has been a long thing that we're talking about. The only thing I was trying to bring to, or rather appeal to the majority leader in the House, is that this should be given proper public hearing.
Yes. Oh, so yes. This is a bill that seeks, to cure this mischief that affects the public. And so basically, the bill gets to a certain stage where we do what we call public hearing. Yeah. So people will come, including you. Yes. And those of them who are looking for accommodations and those who have felt the pain.
Yes. So agents.
You see, so whatever we have in the bill, we're also going to hear from the public. Yeah. So everything I'm saying now is not going to be final.
Of course.
By the time we get to public hearing, people will submit memoranda. Yeah. And usually when they submit memoranda, we look at them clause by clause and pick the vital points there that will help, to strengthen the bill in question. Yeah. So it is a bill that all Deltans are involved in. Yeah. When we get to that stage of public hearing, we will invite.
Why I'm saying this is because both sides of it. Because now there's also the other angle of the landlord who tells you cost of materials are on the increase.
Yeah, and you didn't build this house now.
Yeah, exactly. And most of them will tell you that cost of materials. We know that some of them want to tell you the and all that, but some of them did not build a house today. Then the other aspect is actually, like you were trying to raise up the issue of building of low-cost housing units for civil servants. As you all know, Asaba, as it were, is a civil servant state. Yeah. I am saying part of the thing that will deal with this housing deficit, if the government of the day will be able to look at bringing some low-cost housing unit for public servants or civil servants and be able to pay mortgage gradually. Because if that is done, it seems to put the pressure away from the civil servants, and those arbitrary rates will come down. That is another angle, we need to also look into. Those two angles about the issue of maybe having that partnership with all these kind of companies, cement companies like Dangote and Boa Cement, to be able to find a way to mitigate the issue of high cost of building materials, so that it will be a win-win for everybody. So nobody will say, you don't force us to put a price ceiling for our house and all that. The angle that you said that I very like is the fact that you cannot increase your rent within a specified period of time, which is very okay. That's the angle. That's a good one.
That clause is also still subject to the agreement of the public. By the time we do public hearings,
they might even increase it to 5 years.
It depends on it. Whatever we're doing is to provide a legal framework to regulate
only
the rent issue.
Rent issue, for example. That's why I like what you said. That it's subject to public hearing. Because now, if you give them not more than 50%, all of them will increase by 50%. I know the mentality. So
let me tell you, the problem here, from the little information that I have, the problem that people complain about is not actually the rent itself. It is this total package. That is actually what costs them. What costs them net. And that's exactly what I want us to. What I want that bill to address.
Landlords should deal directly with their whatever agents. But that's on
And again, you see, what I also found out is that there are a series of agents.
Yes, not about 4 or 5.
And you could have an apartment, that is ready for lease or whatever you call it, and an agent is in charge. That agent tells another agent. Another agent tells another agent. So it could be up to 3 or 4 in a chain for a particular apartment. And every single agent has interest.
That's the thing.
So by the time the accumulation of their collective interest
is into the total package.
So this bill now, what this bill seeks to do is that before you become an agent
Most
to rent an apartment, you will have a written document from the landlord empowering you
Yes.
to
Exactly.
be the agent of that.
letter of attorney.
Yes,
Some
power of attorney.
Power of attorney.
Yes,
Very
power of attorney.
Very important.
So that power of attorney now takes care of how many agents that are on queue. You will know that the only agent's fee that will be collected on this apartment is 5%.
Yes.
If the apartment is 500,000, so expect that the agent fee on this is just 25,000.
Yes.
So if you are 5 of you online for this apartment, the 5 of you will share that 25,000.
Yes.
You are not going to have 25,000 each, which is what is
That is what is happening.
Yes. Yes, so that's what the business.
And that's very important. I'm so excited that you're here, and of course you're one of the house members that is well followed, well much loved.
Thank you.
And I must attribute it to your demeanor, your humility, and of course your capacity and content. Now we have Asaba Capital Territory. Now Asaba Capital Territory encompasses Ibuzo, Ubolu, Sela Asaba, and of course maybe Opanam, of course, but that's already or two. There's a fundamental. First, I must commend your government, our government, for award of some road contracts most recently. But what I am saying is this: we are looking at how the House could raise a bill for the interconnectivity of the Asaba Capital Territory, that building a road from Opanam to Ubolu, for example, helping to upgrade the status of Ubolu.
Those things are already going on. I'm sure some of
That's right. No, it was
Yes.
the last award. I saw it.
Yes.
Opanam to Ubolu. I saw it in the last award. Because why do I say this? It will help in the real estate of Asaba.
In fact, His Excellency the Governor has approved that a part of Ubolu should be opened, and he has even awarded road, for them to open up that whole area. So I am sure that he is also going to bring in this housing estate, stuff that he's talking about,
Yeah.
to also reduce the burden of housing on people, on Deltans. But I am aware that the State Executive Council has approved the opening up of that Ubolu axis and the construction of, roads in that area. So the governor knows all of these things, and these things are not things you do all in a day.
Yeah,
so he's taking them step by step. He knows about all of these things, and he's very determined to do these things to ensure that he provides more as promised to Deltans.
That's a great one. Now looking at the issue of we're looking at the issue of education. I remember the House Committee Chairman of Education, Metu, has looked at it as well. But what happened in the last WAEC, and especially in Delta State, where we saw some students writing exams in the 9th, and it was not something that was interesting. It was not an issue of the state, it was an issue of the national issue of WAEC. But however, looking at it critically, the educational sector in Delta State still needs attention. What is the House, as the majority leader and one of the key players, what is the House really looking at in raising the standard, helping to raise the standard of education? If you look, I must be frank with you, when you look at infrastructure in most of our secondary and primary schools, most of them will cry for help. That is one. Then secondly, most of our secondary schools, even in your constituency, have issues of security. Even when PTAs, individuals come and build ICT hubs, renovate the classroom and all that, we still have incidences where vandalization is a major problem because of lack of security. They vandalize as the windows, they vandalize the ICT labs, steal computers, steal generators and all that. How can this government be able to help in improving the standard of the education to our time?
It's important I say this, that
Yes.
The development of any society, the burden of developing any society is not solely rested on the government. We must understand that the common man also needs to play his own role.
That's it.
if government provides facilities, if government builds a block of classroom, for example, it is incumbent on the community, the host community, the benefiting community, to also support and see that this infrastructure is not vandalized. Because I see it as a sabotage.
It is.
Do you understand me?
Economic sabotage.
I can tell you from point of knowledge, I have been in House of Assembly for 10 years. There is no single year that Delta State government does not provide, buildings in several schools that we have across the state.
That is true.
A lot of buildings. They erect buildings on a yearly basis.
That's true.
But if the communities do not own them, it is important that you own them as a community. You own them. What do I mean by owning them? Government has done this for us. It is now our responsibility to ensure that the property is secured. Most communities in Delta State, they have their vigilante group and all of that. So it's also important that they assist government in that angle. Government cannot do everything. They assist government from that angle to ensure that the youths at the local level do not go ahead to vandalize some of these things.
Yeah,
because if it happens that way, it becomes penny wise and foolish.
And besides that, the youth, the citizens, the indigenous have a role to play.
And guess what? The same people who go ahead to vandalize government facilities are the same people who come up to tell you that government is not doing anything. So it's ironical. It's quite ironical. So I want to use this opportunity to call on, the public, the general public, communities in Delta State, to support the government of Right Honorable Sheriff Francis Oborori by playing their own roles too. Government cannot do everything. Whatever government is able to provide for you, ensure that you own it and protect it, so that our children can benefit from them. If government builds a block of 6 classroom block in a particular community today, and in another 1 or 2 weeks they have vandalized it, you are bringing yourself back to square one, starting afresh again.
And that's what happens. Will not come and do the vandalism.
Yeah.
It's always the indigenous people.
It is the indigenous people that do it. So it is a call, on Deltans to own whatever
government
facility that government has put in place in your community. Take ownership. Ensure the protection of that facility. By so doing, what government has done this year, government will not need to repeat it next year. They will now look at another thing that the community needs. But if you do something this year and before a month or two, the local people there destroy it, you probably have to come back again, to back to square one, to repeat the same thing you have done before. That will not enhance speedy development in Delta State.
One minute. Do you want to have any question for him?
No. The thing is, like I said, the legislature, or rather, Delta State House of Assembly has done well. We can only say the reward for hard work is more work. We only want them to do more. Like I said, their role is to make laws for the peace, order, and good government of the state. One other critical area they need to look at is the issue of transportation too, because it has a way of impacting positively or negatively on the the economics of the state, as it were. Take for instance a woman who carries her goods from the village or the rural area and is coming to town to sell her goods. If the cost of transportation is on the increase, she would put that direct cost on her product, and the final consumer feels the impact. Take a look at the transportation rates in town. It's on the increase. The people are also feeling, the brunt. The keke man will tell you that parts are, high, and they don't want to capitalize on that and put, cut-through prices on the people, and they feel it.
There are some things you must have to consider at this juncture. Transportation, the high rate of transportation is as a result of so many factors. Some of the factors are beyond the control of the state.
Yeah, they are beyond.
Okay? The price of fuel is not controlled by the state. Mm-hmm. If the price of fuel increases, invariably the cost of transportation will increase. Yeah. But let us come down home and look at those factors that affect the state, or those factors that the state can actually play a role on. In the issue of roads, this government is doing a lot in terms of road construction.
We can all agree.
We all know about the flyovers going on in Warri. Warri is taking a new face look. You all know about Warri, Asaba Uyeli Road. Governor has just completed it. In fact, I can tell you that from here Asaba to Warri now will not take you more than 2 hours.
I passed there on Saturday, so I can
so if 2 years ago they were taking X naira to Warri because the road was not good, today the road is excellent.
I beg to differ on that. You may not know. No, you may not know.
Yes.
Yes, the governor has done a lot in terms of road infrastructure, but I'm still telling you that the price of transport has still not gone down. Ask anybody.
I am saying that the price is dependent on so many factors.
Yes, I agree.
The price is dependent on so many factors.
Yes,
some of which are not within the control of the state. Not even House of Assembly. Some of which are not within the control of the state.
Yes,
I just give an instance. The price of fuel is not controlled by the state.
Of course, we know that, but there are ways the government can also mitigate those things, like having maybe municipal transport services like we had in the past. Things like that can be.
I really appreciate your presence coming on this program. Please, just for 30 seconds, what should be our expectations for the next 2 years from the 8th Assembly?
Let me say that as a person, I want to first of all applaud the political sagacity of the governor, His Excellency Right Honorable Elder Sheriff Francis Oborori. I want to appreciate his show of administrative dexterity. He has shown that he has capacity. He has shown that he understands governance. And I want to promise Deltans that they should expect more. I know that in the next 2 years, he is going to deliver even more than he has delivered in the past. So far, I know that I am very, very impressed with his performance. Deltans are very impressed with his performance. Before he came into office, a lot of things. People said a lot of things. He was not given that. No, but many people did not believe that he would do as much as he has done today. So he has even surpassed the expectations of the people. And I am very proud to say that I am a Deltan anywhere I am in the world. I am also very proud that the same man that so many people did not expect to do much has been awarded as one of the best performing governors in Nigeria. So I want to tell Deltans to expect more. Governor has a lot in the pipeline that he is going to be unleashing, gradually to ensure that Delta State is taken to the next level.
To ensure that Delta State is taken to the next level, that's been an impulsive and exciting faculty today. I must appreciate our guest, the Majority Leader, Delta State House of Assembly, Honorable Engineer Emeka Nwobi, for throwing more light to so many questions that have been asked off camera. We thank you for coming on the program.
Thank you very much.
And we hope that when we call you on short notice, you oblige us.
Sure.
And of course, Henry Wanzi, the public affairs analyst, thanks for being part of the program.
It's always a pleasure.
The faculty will return to your channels again tomorrow. I must appreciate everyone who has been part of this program. Today's program is exciting, has been exciting, and of course, it's been informative. Good afternoon.